Welcome to Monster Chats, presented by Monster VoIP, where we share the tools, methods, and best practices that business leaders use to build new connections, strengthen relationships, and impact sales in organizations of all shapes and sizes. If you have any questions that come up during today's episode, please text them to 424-378-6966. Please welcome the founder of Monster VoIP, your host, Colin Mitchell.
On today's episode, we're going to be talking with Tasia Valenza of Give Great Voice. Tasia and I are going to be talking about what it means to give great voice, whether it be to ourselves, in our professional or in our personal lives as well. I'm Colin Mitchell, your host of Monster Chats and the founder of Monster Voice. Tasia, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Great. Thanks for having me, Colin.
Yeah, so Tasia, you're an Emmy-winning voiceover artist and founder of Give Great Voice that teaches confident verbal communication skills through the lens of a voiceover actor, which makes you the perfect guest to be talking about what it means to give a great voice, meditation and mindfulness, and how to be confident in our communication.
If you say so, I agree.
So before we dig in, just tell us a little bit about your story and how you got to where you are today.
Sure. So I started, I always call myself a recovering actress and a fully functioning voiceover artist. I started acting at 15 professionally, and I did that. I was on All My Children for 3 years, and I did my first professional gig was actually a movie called Crackers that was directed by a well-known director, Louis Malle, and my love interest was Sean Penn. So I went from high school, school play to one day I got a movie, and the next day I was a professional actress, and then 6 months later I was on All My Children, and then I did that for 3 years and moved out to Los Angeles from New York, and acted for years doing pilots and series and all that, and then. My mom, who had been one of the reasons I became an actress, because she was an actor in her day, and my father as well, suggested that I consider voiceovers along with the acting. And at that time, this was the 90s, it was still such a niche that nobody knew what a voiceover artist was. And so I was saying it was hard to get into, but thank God for good old nagging moms. She continued to press me to do it. And I started doing some voiceovers, and then realized after doing more and more of them over 6 years that I was, as my therapist said, my mental health was going up in proportion to the amount of voiceovers I was doing. I realized that one of the things I loved was acting, but the rejection of always never being enough or too much, which, on camera is always, it's like 60% of why you get a role, as opposed to just that you're a great actor. It's always like, you're great, but, and then all of a sudden the confines of that were released as a voiceover artist. And I just started booking jobs like crazy and realized that, I'm going to just focus my attention on just this aspect of acting. And I have been blessed to be doing it for the last 25 years. And I'm known for some of my video game roles, Poison Ivy in the Arkham games, and Shaq T in the Clone Wars, and Sniper Wolf and Metal Gear Solid for some of those real gamers from the past. And I've now taken all those skill sets of what I consider to give great voice, to move and touch someone with my voice, which is what I've been doing professionally, and teach those same skill sets to non-voiceover actors so they can play their professional and personal roles more successfully. And I just basically encapsulated what that means in 16 minutes in a recent TEDx talk that I just gave.
Right, yeah. So tell us a little bit, what does it mean, for the individual that doesn't know, what does it mean to give a great voice?
So, at its essence, and my brother made me, said, well, come on, what does that really mean? I was like, well, it means, he said, no, in one sentence, what does that mean? It means to move or touch someone with our voices, meaning that, we can take words that are on a page, which is what I do every day as a voiceover actor, and breathe and speak life into them. So it's, so much of our communication is digitized now, from writing and tweeting and texting, that we've lost some of that nuance of what the voice brings. And when the voice lands a message, it's very different than when you're just reading it. And I kind of say that, saying I'm sorry with sincerity and being contrite has so much more of an impact than, I'm sorry, when you put your little emoji, or I love you with compassion and joy is so much more heartfelt than, I heart you. So a lot of it is understanding that when we want to speak and really engage with someone and get them to come along on our journey, it's not always what we say, but how we say them, how we say those words. And it's paramount more than ever because we're in a situation now where we can't even touch each other. We're social distance. We cannot physically touch one another. And so to move and touch someone with our voices has a whole nother meaning that it did when I put the TED Talk out, a month and a half ago. So it's ironic at the time I was like ringing the bell, like we still have to call people and we still have to remember, like, how do we speak to our kids and how do we play the role of, I'm again sharing a lot, but we play roles. We don't think of it, but I mean, I'm a mother and I'm a friend and I'm a sister and I'm a daughter. And you're a podcaster, and you're a CEO of your company, and you're probably a son. You are a son. Yeah. We all have these roles, and when we feel like we're playing them successfully, when we're communicating well, we feel good. And when we're not, when we're falling short, we don't feel so good.
Right. So what would you tell people differently today, considering the current situation, than what you might have told them a few weeks ago?
Well, the veil is lifted even more, that the trains left the station in terms of not hiding behind our digital communication, because if we're going to be virtual, we're going to be doing a lot of what we're doing right now, which is we're going to have to Zoom, and we are probably, some of that's not going to return because, it's like we adapt to new situations. And so we're not going to even have the ability to use our physical body language. Like I'm just here, I'm up here, right? So we're going to have to convey our emotions and our intention even more so. And it's very simple in terms of how I construct, thinking like a voiceover actor means that we ask these 4 questions for when we're going to play our role. Who am I in this scene of my life? Who am I speaking to? What do I want? What's the success of this particular scene, the outcome, and how does my voice support that intention? So if I'm speaking to you and I want to engage with you and I want to have you come along and engage with me, if I say, hi, Colin, I'm really, it's nice to be here and I'm excited.
Doesn't sound like it.
My intention, right? That's not conveying my intention. My intention is, I am a guest today on Colin's show, and I'm conveying, what do I want to convey? Well, I want him to believe that I am a master communicator, and I want him to be engaged with me and excited to come along on my ride. So what do I want to do? Well, I want to inspire, and I want it to share enthusiasm, and I want to, bring an energy to this so he's like interested, and hopefully his viewers are. So my intention follows my emotion follows my intention. So if we can start thinking like that, and I used the metaphor that when I played Poison Ivy, again, as a voiceover lens, I'm approaching it. So Poison Ivy is known, she's a DC villainess, she's an eco-terrorist, she's a shiro, she's very complicated, but she's known as a seductress, right? So she's not even, I can't even, raise an eyebrow. It's all through my voice. So seduction sounds like this. So even if she's trying to get her enemy close to her, like Batman perhaps, to kill him, she needs to get him close enough to kiss him and do that. So seduction, we have a sound. If I were to try to seduce him and say, Batman, come here. Most likely, right?
Yeah.
That's starting to understand. our voice follows our intention. So if we want to be inspiring, our voice has to come along for the ride. If we want to be warm and inviting, our voice comes for the ride. If we want to sound authoritative, what do I want? I want to engender trust. My voice can come on the ride. So the voice is supporting the message and the role and the intention if we become conscious of it. And that's where we can start to play. We can start thinking, well, what does it sound like to be authoritative? We can start borrowing from our favorite actors and our favorite animated and practice in the mirror and start using our voices like an instrument.
And this is, yeah. And
plays an instrument. I don't know if you play an instrument, but we know we can kind of tune the instrument and play with it. You can do the same with your voice, and it will engage and enlighten and attract and persuade.
Right. And I mean, this is something that people can use in business too, right? So, I mean, for their personal relationships, like, like you said, what their intention is and who they're speaking to is so important so that they can say whatever it is that they need to say appropriately to get the other person on the other end to join them on whatever journey or path it is.
Correct. And it's, sometimes, again, if you're on the phone, right, and you think, what is my intention? And you're like, right from the get-go, you want to sound warm and engaging. Because, again, if you close your eyes and I say, if I close my eyes and I say, and you close your eyes and I say, hello, that's very different than hello. Right? I mean, it's like, boom, right from the gate. It's like, hello sounds, ooh, is she slightly annoyed already? Am I going to be, and if you're cold calling somebody, like, you have to overcome, whether you're the person that you're hearing that. But if I'm going to call somebody and I want to have an engaging, so how do I get to that smile? Well, put a picture of your dog if that makes you smile, or put a picture of somebody you love, and think to yourself, I'm going to smile, and that's going to come through my voice. And as soon as I say hello, I'm going to be engaging, rather than just thinking, what do I want to say and who am I selling? What's my intention? I'm going to be warm and inviting, and that is going to create more rapport so that whatever the phone call is at the end, they have felt more comfortable. And if I'm on Zoom, well, I'm going to smile, because a smile makes my voice sound different than, hi, it's very nice to talk to you, and I'm really glad I'm here.
Right.
So it's simple things. It's just becoming more conscious of it and realizing that once you become a little bit more conscious, you can then have much more power over how you engage, as opposed to just doing it reactively, which most of us do.
Right. So tell me, let's talk a little bit about meditation and mindfulness, right? Because they I would say they go together, right? Being in the right place and being mindful of your intentions and, having more clarity to be able to focus on these things are huge. Without that, I think that, having a great voice or setting the proper intention is probably nearly impossible.
That's a great point. And given the fact that we are in a universal trauma state, and I want to honor that that this is once in, God willing, once in a lifetime, or at least it's the first of our lifetimes, that we are all in a tremendous amount of uncertainty and anxiety. It's very difficult to overcome that anxiety. And one of the ways to at least allow for the beginning of that is to have self-compassion and self-kindness. And I was fortunate enough to be a co-founder of a meditation app called Haven Guided Meditations, called Haven Guided Affirmations. And it's a free meditation app that literally helps to have, I call it a Be Kind to Your Mind app, because it's 10 minutes and it's under 7 days of different masteries, different subjects such as stress reduction and confidence, health, wealth, leadership, marriage. And it's literally just 10 minutes of self-kindness, deep breathing, and then affirmations in a state of relaxation, which can be as simple as just, I'm okay in this moment. I love myself. I believe in myself, and I can do anything I set my mind to. So given how challenging that is to feel okay in the world, to have a tool and to be able to, again, have some of that quiet mindfulness, even just the simple act of taking 3 deep breaths, diaphragmatic breathing, and that belly breath, where we can kind of quiet the anxiety and the fear and kind of get into a state where in this moment, I am okay. And I'm going to set the intention to have a great phone call or a great Zoom so that I can be my best self to further my goals and the success for both sides, that both sides are feeling good. Before I pick up that phone, before I get on the Zoom, that I am going to make this a great experience, and I believe in myself that I can do it. So self-speak is so much a part of Give Great Voice, because many of us would tear ourselves down in an instant before we would build ourselves up. I consider speaking the language of self-love foreign to many people. It's like learning Chinese, if you've never done it on a regular basis, it's almost impossible. It's like awkward. And so I think it's, incredibly important, the self-speak that we're given, because we are inundated with negative information right now.
More than ever.
Yeah. And if we don't choose, the first step is obviously if we can just literally turn that off, because our mind, keeps looking for what we keep feeding it. And so the more we're taking that information, and our mind will seek that out and then marinate in it. So the act of turning off the news, taking a reprieve, sitting quietly, again, I offer my meditation app, or even just, placing your hand over your heart and just saying, in a deep breath, I am okay in this moment. In this moment, I am fine. It's not the future. It's not the past. And I'm setting the intention now that I can achieve this goal. It's going to be a great phone call. My client or my prospect, my wife, my husband, my children, what do I want for this scene of my life? And how do I want the end to be? I want to see a smile on their face. I want to hear, you got the job. I want to hear, there's in my TED Talk, to play the role of the courageous, confident candidate, which is something we all need right now. It's kind of like playing a superhero, right? We have to overcome our fears and our anxieties. And so I used an acronym, BEAD: breathe, empower, affirm, and dress. So to do those 3 deep breaths, to empower, you can look in the mirror 10 minutes before. I don't know if you're familiar, but Amy Cuddy made a very famous TED Talk called, Power Poses. She was a scientist from Harvard who extracted that if you stand in the Superman pose or the Wonder Woman pose for 2 minutes, your testosterone goes up. That's your power hormone. And your cortisol levels, the hormone, your stress hormone, goes down. So 2 minutes just standing there like Superman. Who knew, right? Well, everybody who's watched that TED Talk, and it's like 55 million people, so a lot. And so I wanted to piggyback that if you empower and then you affirm on top of it, and you borrow from your Superman, I am going to rock this. I love myself. I am the courageous, confident candidate. I am trustworthy. I actually looked up what employers are looking for, the 8 qualities, and I had the whole room affirm those qualities. And then, again, dress. And right now, again, it's so easy to stay in our pajamas all day. So if you're going to make that phone call or you're going to do that Zoom and you dress the part, it informs the role. So you breathe, you empower, you affirm, and you dress, and you go and you play that courageous, confident candidate, and you achieve your goals. It's mindset, and then again, it's voice. Together, you're unstoppable.
Yeah, and you just got to dress from the top up.
Yeah, you can be right. I mean, That's one of the gifts of this new paradigm.
The new normal.
Right? You can just like rock the jammies from the waist down and completely look, like you're ready to go from the waist up. I think John Krasinski, was actually he's doing this Good News Network, and he had the suit on, and I think Steve Carell said, "I bet you have your jammies on underneath." He said, "Yep."
Right. So, right. No. So, I mean, to get back to what I hear you saying, right, is like being the mindfulness practice helps you to be in a good place, right? To be positive and be able to use your voice and set the proper intention, right? Without that mindfulness, like it's really hard to even tap into like what your intention is, to set yourself up to be successful in whatever it is you're trying to achieve.
Exactly. And I just want to, point out that many people don't know that we have 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day unchecked, just downloading all the time. Just like, and 80% of those thoughts are from the day before and the year before and the year before. So mindfulness, because sometimes people don't even understand what it means to be mindful,
right,
is to kind of just become aware, like, I am not my thoughts. I am having a thought. And that is a very scary thought and a very anxious thought, but I am not the thought. So how do we stop those thoughts from spinning down into the rabbit hole? The act of saying, wow, I'm having a really scary thought right now.
And also not judging ourselves for those thoughts.
Absolutely. I call it, that's a great point. I call it being the compassionate companion. That we can be our own compassionate companion and say, just as if we would to our best friend or a little child, wow, we're having a scary thought right now. That's okay. Right now in this moment. And again, you can hear my voice. The compassionate companion says, I'm okay in this moment. And I love myself. And I forgive myself for whatever A, B, or C, if I messed up, or I wish I had done that better, or, again, it's that self-kindness. Sometimes we need the confidence coach, like, yeah, I'm going to kill it today. I got it. I rock it. We need that, right? We're right before we're going to go. And then sometimes we need the compassionate companion. And both of those, if we can give ourselves both sides of those, that self-speak, we can then, again, take that moment, set the intention. Am I going to go speak to my kid who I'm really frustrated with because we're totally on top of each other right now and I just want to kill him? And I'm going to just say, wow, I had a bad moment there and I'm really sorry. And I hope you forgive me, because there's nothing like, again, using our ability to forgive ourselves and then going to ask for forgiveness to repair a lot of these strained relationships that we're having right now, again, in our personal lives, because we're in confines that are absolutely abnormal. And so we can bring the same compassion that we have for ourselves to those who we are in love and say a simple, I'm sorry. I hope you forgive me.
And not forgetting about how important is how we say that, right?
How we say that. Because if we say, I'm sorry. No, I mean, like, it's almost laughable, right? But how many times do we do that? I'm sorry, but, which, again, you can feel very justified in the moment because the righteousness, but taking maybe, again, the 3 deep breaths, walking away, having some mindfulness, and then going and saying, how do I want to express this sorry to that, so that my partner, my child, my friend, my roommate receives this? Probably in a way that, again, is thoughtful and compassionate and sincere. And if we can avoid the but afterwards, or say, I felt this as opposed to you did that, people can hear us in the way that we want to be heard.
Right.
Ultimately, we want to be heard and listened to and seen.
And how often we don't just maybe not say anything at all when there is something that needs to be said, right? Maybe, which kind of leads, like, not confident enough to say what it is that needs to be said.
That's again a very astute point, that sometimes we just leave it because we hope it goes away. But sometimes, in so doing, it sometimes festers, and it's right below, the pink elephants in the room. And to have the, again, the compassion and the confidence to say that this is really uncomfortable. I feel awkward saying this, and or it'll just go away if I don't. To have that ability to say, well, you know what, maybe I can say something, and maybe I can express it in a way that they can hear it. And from that, better communication will be had, and we'll get closer instead of further. Because those little divides get bigger and bigger and bigger if we don't address them. And people will, sometimes you can join them first. With my children, and we all have our lenses that we're in right now. We come through our own lens, it's like the rose-colored lenses. And so many of us are feeling the pain of our own sacrifices right now, and the missed opportunities, the parents, and the stress of the financials, and that is tremendous. And then we think, to our children, like, what do you have to worry about, right? But the children, right? They're existing human beings, and maybe they've missed their proms, and they missed their friends, and they're contained. So when you can join them and say, wow, I really can understand from your viewpoint what you're missing, and it must be hard for you. Sometimes that alone, it's like that the people, when they feel understood, even if you don't agree with them, I can really hear. So what you're saying is you're really feeling hurt or sad or frustrated that you're not able to do A, B, and C. Is that what I'm hearing you say? Yes. I can understand that from your point of view. Even though I still need you to do the dishes or, whatever it is, I can understand that you're feeling, as opposed to, what do you have to worry? Get over it. Or things that we tend to say in our own frustration, which is completely valid. Does it further, again, the intention? And, as my role as mother, my intention on the grand level is to have a great relationship with my kids. Am I completely reactive many of the times? Yes, I am. I teach what I need to learn. When I see their clothes for the 800th time on the floor, I do not always lift up, guys, can you pick up your clothes? I'm like, pick up your clothes, right? Right, but, but again, if I'm thinking, how do I want to have dinner go after I've just had that experience? Or how do I want to be in this house that we're still trapped for another 20 days? I'd probably like our communication to be better than to be worse. So it's just a matter of, being a little bit more conscious. Sometimes it's like fake it till you make it, in terms of just like overcoming that righteous feeling of like, but I am being wronged. Yes, you absolutely are, not, maybe they're not having the compassion to say like, I get where you're coming from, Mom, and you're overwhelmed and stressed. Maybe they don't have that insight. But if you can, again, care for yourself in that moment, and then kind of just bring that same calm energy a little bit more into those personal relationships, you will feel better about, because every time I've failed at a communication with my kids, whether that's small or big, and I go to sleep, I think about it, I ruminate on it. I wish I hadn't lost my temper yet again for 20, so it's so much of it's for myself, so that I can feel good, that maybe it wasn't perfect, but I was able to say, I'm sorry. My kids know that I will say, I'm sorry. I own my ship, is what I call them. Own your ship. And they have learned that they can say they're sorry to me. It's like, and there is a lot of I'm sorry going on nowadays.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of I'm sorry going on, but it's so much kinder than none. Right.
We're going to take a quick break just to tell you here what we do at Monster VoIP. We help companies save 30 to 50% off their current business phone bill and provide them more value and features. If you'd like to learn more, you can text us at 424-378-6966. Tasia, thanks so much. We're talking here about, Tasia's from Give a Great Voice, and we're talking about, how to talking about meditation and mindfulness and how to set the proper intention and communication. And we talked a lot about in personal, with our loved ones and our family, but can you tie back how this relates to business, right? Like with our family and our loved ones, that's a good place to start, but then how can we use these in business as well?
Again, right now, to have that interpersonal communication, even in meetings, right? We're Zoom meeting. And so maybe to have a personal moment of checking in with your company members, because we don't know what they're experiencing at home. Maybe they're, again, the tension and the frustration of not having their own space. So even having those minutes, maybe at the beginning or an end, where there's a bit of a check-in, like on a human-to-human level, or giving some space for someone to be, personal and saying, how are you doing at home with your situation? It must be difficult. To acknowledge a subordinate, perhaps, as a manager, and to give them that acknowledgement is tremendous compassion and allows people to feel much more safe, that they always have to put on the mask when they come in. So it can really serve the managers and the higher ups to give a little bit acknowledgement that, I'm sure it's difficult for all of us right now, and to have more grace, patience with one another as we overcome this new way of managing ourselves in business, which is very alien to many people that used to work in co-working spaces where you can see each other and check in at the water cooler and all of those things that are missing now. So we have to overcome that much more in our communication, have that much more sensitivity, have that much more ability to have a warm smile and say to somebody that is going through something, how are you doing? And how can I support you in this way to have more space to be able to come to the job and do your best. So I think a lot of it comes down to like maybe having a little bit more personal interaction, and again, without making it a free for all, having more grace, and perhaps maybe checking in a little bit more often than maybe if you met once or twice a week, you up that for shorter meetings, but to make sure that everyone's using their communication, and maybe having something like Slack, for more of that the intermediary stuff, and then the bigger ones for the meetings where you're doing the half an hour check-in. Is everyone knowing what they're supposed to be doing? And sharing that in a way that, again, allows for this transition with grace and patience. So there's so many different sides to approach it. It's like, again, coming to the table, being your best self, and then allowing for everyone to have a little bit of more space to express the human aspects of what we're going through.
Yeah. So just like having more empathy for each other, being more considerate, and then, celebrating the small wins too, right? Like people really need positive enforcement right now more than ever. I learned something yesterday, and we started a new Slack channel for high fives. So it's all about the team giving each other kudos for, small wins, whatever it is, and just making sure that people are acknowledged for the things that they're doing good.
That is fantastic. Exactly. So so giving great voice is wonderful. Again, when you can do it on a verbal way and you can say, high five, that was fantastic. Right. But then if you can't, or, again, just time doesn't allow for it, having that intermediary channel where you can just celebrate the good, and to keep each other motivated and to say, we are together in this. That's the beautiful thing, is that, you can balance both. I think, again, in the past, we were erring on the side of digital so much that we had lost a lot of this compassion, which would I have ever asked for in a pandemic to make this happen? No. But am I grateful that this is one of the silver linings, that we are checking in with each other more than ever, and we are having we are using Zoom. We just had Passover. We used Zoom. We didn't, we used to host 20 people here at our house, and we were very much thinking we were going to be 5 depressed people. And then we made it into a Zoom Passover. And it was so much more meaningful. And I've been making every single one of my friends FaceTime with me when I call them, because I'm like, you know what, we need, hashtag give great face. Mm-hmm. So, to overcome the fact that we haven't seen you in a month, or it could be a month, to see each other and laugh together. And I mean, I literally hula hooped with my girlfriend last night. My girlfriend that I've known since I'm 8 years old. And I'm cool. So, I mean, we were talking first, and then I was like, Lizzie, I'm going to put the phone down. I'm going to hula. She goes, I have a hula hoop. Now, this was in a million years. Would we have done that in the old, before days? No, we would have had a short phone call, or both rushing. We had a little bit more of gifts of time. Mm-hmm. And we, again, I made her FaceTime with me because I said, I want to see you. And now, it's like everybody that I've said, can we FaceTime with, says, let's do more of these FaceTime. So if I could offer that, if you are on the phone and you can FaceTime, it takes it to that next level of like, wow, we're in the room with each other. The beautiful thing about Zoom is that you're doing that naturally. But if you're making those calls and you're checking with the people you love, or the people, the acquaintances, and even a business, do you want to Zoom instead of just call? Take that opportunity, because it lends that extra human connection, and that makes for better rapport, which makes for better relationships, which makes for more trust, which makes for better outcomes.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think that there's even statistics like for in business that, if you're engaging with a prospect by using video, it increases your chances by about 42% of earning their business.
Well, good for you. So you know more than I do. I love it. I instinctively know this, and you have the stats to back it up. Yeah. Because Harvard did a study that for applicants that they sent the emails or the texts, those that used their voices or they got to see them, they thought they were smarter, just smarter. Because they were engaged. So the human voice has resonance. And it releases good feeling endorphins that because we as humans were meant to engage. There's studies that show that in the old days, when you left your tribe, and the further you went out, the longer you went, those stress hormones started releasing. Oh my God, you're going to get eaten by a lion. Oh my God, get back to the tribe. That was the biological way of saying, get back to your group. So this self-isolation, especially people that are living alone right now, it's antithetical to who we are as humans, and it really, again, increases those stress hormones, especially if we don't have a pet or a friend or a family member living with us. So I really want to honor the people that are truly self-isolating.
Yeah.
That it must be tremendously difficult, and that whatever fashion you can in terms of making that human connection, give that to yourself and reach out and seek out those people and find ways to laugh, and watch things that make you, because endorphins released by laughter are so healing. I just put out a post yesterday, 5 ways to get the happy vibe, dancing. Even if it's alone, dancing and putting on some music, or hula hooping with a friend. Yeah. And getting at, the meditation practice, whether that's a quiet one or an affirmation meditation one, watching silly things that make you laugh, and even the act of smiling, even if it's fake. You can put a pencil in your mouth, and the act of doing it tells your brain you're happy. It's the same thing with the power pose. Your mind informs your biology, and your biology informs your mind. So you can hack it. You can hack your biology. They say, like, even just getting up in the morning and making your bed. If that's the best you can do to start that ball rolling, just making the bed and kind of like taking a step in the direction of, what will I do today? Even if you feel paralyzed, I'm going to make my bed. I'm going to smile. I'm going to say one nice, kind thing to myself. I love myself. I'm okay in this moment. I'm going to, and then you can build upon that. I'm of the mind that I was just on with a client, if you're more visual, I believe, saying that the thoughts, the 60 to 70, my metaphor is, it's a computer's program. And it needs a software update daily. nobody would use a 40-year-old computer program, but we're operating from 0 to 3, which is where we really got the most information that runs our brain. The subconscious is 95% of our brain, and the conscious is 5. Very uncool but that's the way it runs. The part that needs to be up is an update. It's a software update. So that's, again, the meditation, the app is like when you get in that nice alpha state, you can update that software much more efficiently, because the conscious mind isn't saying, when you say, I love myself, no, you don't. You're stupid. I can do anything on my mind. You failed miserably yesterday, right? So when you're in that nice, relaxed alpha state, I love myself. I can do anything I set my mind. That's literally getting it. So if you think of it as a software update, affirmations are a way to update the software daily. Whatever you say after I am or I have consistently tells your future.
I love that. The software update.
Right. It's a software update. And because again, a lot of us are like, I don't live in the woo-woo world. No, I get it. It's a software update. Would you use a computer that you didn't update from 6 months ago? It wouldn't run efficiently. You're running from an old program. It's not helping you. Update your software. I approach people however they can, wherever they come. Everyone has a different way of approaching things. But if you think of it in that way, it makes so much sense. Like, yeah, right. It's a computer program. I need to update it. I need to update it daily. So put Post-its in your, around your desk, under the kitchen. Like, I love myself, or I'm amazing. I mean, I have one right in my mirror, a litany of them. And this just on this wonderful sheet, and I look at it in the morning every time I come in the bathroom, and I remind myself, it's not enough to look at it. I have to say it aloud, because I know that if I'm looking at it, I'm only getting a certain amount of that information. But if I say it, and if I say it with conviction, I am amazing. Today is an incredible day. Success, prosperity, and abundance have naturally found their way into my life today. I gratefully accept their abundance and happily share it with those that I come into contact with. I've memorized it because I say, and then I am amazing. I love myself. I am abundant. I am wealthy. Because I know that my anxiety that comes as soon as I wake up and I'm conscious because of the days that we're living in is going to take hold unless I counteract that quickly. So it's just an understanding of like, wow, my mind is a computer, and I will take possession and program it today. It's like, I am the master, my meditations and everyone, I am the master of my mind. I am the master of my heart. I am the master of my body. I am the master of my life. 4 mantras. If you said that alone, I am the master, because if you don't master your mind masters you.
Yes. I love that. That is great. So we are just about out of time. I think we might win a little bit over, but that's totally okay. Before we let you go, just thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. Welcome to the Monster Chats community. But before we let you go, please tell us, where people can find your app, where they can find you, if they have questions, they want to learn more about what you do.
Sure. So I'm at TasiaValenza.com, or if you can't remember that, GiveGreatVoice.com. I'm on both. And Tasia Valenza is, more of the voiceover, but it leads it. My TED Talk is on there. You're welcome to watch that. I work with individuals to help their confident communication and groups. And my app is called Haven Guided Affirmations. You can find it at the App Store, and it looks like a little lighthouse. So it's pink. So make sure you find the pink lighthouse, because there's other havens, and it is free to use. And I'm on I'm on Instagram, I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, kind of across all the platforms except Snapchat, because I'm just not that cool, or TikTok. I am not there, but otherwise you can find me. And I'm just here to support, serve, and help people feel more powerful and confident in their communication. And also, as a voiceover artist, I love serving my clients as well. So I'm kind of like this duality. But right now, my mission critical is to just help people with positivity during this very challenging time, and tools that they can use to overcome and be their best selves and give great voice.
Yes. Thank you so much. If you're listening to the podcast, please subscribe, share, and we welcome your feedback. The show is all about you, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you for tuning in for another episode of Monster Chats, presented by Monster VoIP, where we share the tools, methods, and best practices that business leaders use to build new connections, strengthen relationships, and impact sales in organizations of all shapes and sizes. If you have any questions from today's show and want to reach us directly, please text your question to 424-378-6966.